Runnin' with the Devil, a rock and roll adventure. Part 20. Where'd the fucking door go? Derek yelled. Yeah, it was right there, dude. Corey followed. I don't know, I said, stammering. Again, I thought about using my gift to get us out of that situation. But I couldn't bust this shell wide open if I was always taking the easy way out, right? Anyway, we all turned around and began looking for another door. There was no door, just normal kitchen stuff, only bigger. An industrial-sized stove on the far wall, a refrigerator on the left wall, also industrial-sized, a 2-compartment sink on the right wall, and 3 china cabinets sat side by side on the wall behind us, with open wall space next to them where the door should have been. There was also a huge countertop island sitting in the middle of the room. Now, I know what you're thinking, china cabinets belong in the dining room, not in the kitchen, and I would have to agree with you on that, but for some reason, they were in the kitchen. I didn't understand it either. Anyway, various sized cabinets, drawers, and counters filled the wall space in between. The kitchen had no pantry though, which was odder than the china cabinets being in there. Just fucking great. The only door out of this fucking place just fucking disappeared, Derek yelled in frustration. Derek, calm down. There's got to be a way out of here, I said loudly. I'm scared, Ricky said nervously. It's okay, man. We'll all stick together and figure a way out of this. Right, guys? I said. Yeah, you know it. Yup, okay, they all replied. Derek sounding really frustrated with his yeah reply. Maybe this is one of those secret doorways kind of thing. I saw it in a movie once. This guy moved a vase, or a book, or something, and a door opened up in the wall. Steven suggested. Like Batman? Ricky asked. Steven answered, yeah, na 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 na. Ricky joined in, na 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 na, both screaming Batman at the end. We all just looked at them funny. Really, guys? I said. They just looked at each other awkwardly, then looked down. Batman is cool, Tony said softly, lowering his head like a scolded child. Dude, I'll try anything to get the fuck out of here. Let's do it, Derek said. We all then began searching for a secret door. Corey and Derek began walking around the kitchen, moving the appliances, and banging on the walls, to no prevail. Steven and Ricky began moving the china cabinets, finding only dust, cobwebs, and a couple old half-eaten Cheetos behind them. I began opening the drawers in the cabinets, finding all the kitchen gadgets, utensils, glassware, and dinnerware that you could ever need. A few of the cabinets up top had canned goods, coffee, and various other food products. I figured since there wasn't a pantry, they kept the food and stuff in the cabinets. Anyway, Tony just stood there. After about 15 minutes of searching, we heard Tony say laughingly, "Hey guys, I see a door." We all stopped what we were doing, turned to face Tony and saw him pointing to the far left corner of the room. Where? We all said in unison, looking around. Right there. Tony answered, still pointing to the corner, the refrigerator door. He then walked over to it. Are you fucking serious right now, dude? We're stuck in a room with no way out, and all you can think about is food. You just ate like 45 minutes ago, I said loudly. Yeah, Steven chimed in. Tony lowered his head, and began to open the door, I'm assuming so he could see what was inside. Holy cannoli, Tony said excitedly. Inside was a fully stocked refrigerator. Now, when I say fully stocked, I'm not talking about milk, eggs, cheese, that sort of thing. No. I'm talking about beer, all kinds of beer, bottles and cans, all the brand names, and even a few brands I never even heard of before. Yeah, dude. Rock and roll. Bob really set us up, Derek shouted. Yeah, man, Steven said. Check out the freezer, dude. Tony lifted his head, shut the refrigerator door, and raised his hand to the handle of the freezer. Hey, what's that? Tony said. What's what, man? Ricky asked. Yeah, man. What? Corey asked. There's a little black button on the top of this thing, Tony replied. It's in the back, you guys. In case you're wondering how none of us saw this button before, it's because none of us are tall enough to see the top of the refrigerator. That thing was huge. Tony and his 6'8" self could barely see over the top of it. Anyway, let me see, Ricky said, as he ran over by Tony, and began jumping up and down. Dude, stop, Corey said. Fuck it, dude. Hit it, Derek said. Okay, Tony replied, shrugging his shoulders. He reached above the refrigerator, and hit the button. Suddenly, we heard a low hissing noise, and the sound of machinery coming to life. We all stepped back, looking around in wonder. The sound of rusty metal wheels turning began filling the air, as the island in the middle of the room began to move towards the sink. We all turned to look at it. No fucking way, man, Corey said in disbelief. Batman, baby. Yeah, Steven said excitedly, and high-fived Ricky. You are a fucking genius, dude, Derek said to Tony, and threw up the horns, as we all did the same, including Tony, smiling. I'm not hungry anymore. Let's get out of here, Tony said. What's down there, man? Corey asked. We all gathered around the opening and stared in awe of what we saw. It was steps. Concrete steps, leading down into complete darkness. The air coming from the opening smelled like old blood, mold, piss, and shit. Man, this house is fucked up, Steven remarked. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to get the hell out of this house altogether, and just stay in the bus, I said. I'm with you, Mikey, Ricky said. Me too, dude, right on, man, yeah, but what if I get hungry? Tony asked that last question, as I'm sure you figured that out instantly. Don't worry, Tony, I started. I cleared my throat and continued. I mean, when we get out of here, I can get you anything you want. I replied. Huh? He asked. I just smiled at him. You know what I mean, right? What do you think is down there? Corey asked. I don't know. Maybe a basement of some sort, I replied. I don't like basements. They're cold and nasty, Tony said. I've had enough of this house. Let's get out of here already, Ricky said, and began walking down the steps. Hold up, dude, Derek said. I think we need a few parting gifts to take with us. Don't you, man? Slapping Corey brotherly on the back. You know it, man, Corey replied. They then walked over to the refrigerator, pulled their shirts up, to have something to carry the beer in, and began grabbing as many cans and bottles as they could carry. I want some, Ricky said, running back up the stairs, almost knocking me over. Me too, Steven said. They both ran to the refrigerator and began doing the same. I thought about making some coffee. There was a coffee maker on the counter, and I saw some powdered creamer and a bag of sugar in one of the top cabinets, but I figured it would take too long, and I really wanted to get out of that house. I could always want one later, if worse came to worse. Anyway, when the guys had all they could handle, they shuffled back over to the opening. Have beer, we'll travel, Derek said laughing. Let's go. Tony went first, then me, then Steven, then Ricky, then Corey, and finally Derek. The sound of bottles and cans clanking together was heard as we cautiously walked down the steps into the darkness. Derek, Corey, Steven, and Ricky grabbed their lighters out of their pockets, with their free hands, lit them, held them in the air, and dimly lit the way down. The steps went on for what seemed like forever. Finally, we reached the bottom, and I was correct. It was a basement, but unlike any basement any of us had ever seen. What the fuck? We all said in unison. There was a huge white pentagram, painted on the floor, with old half-burnt black candles, sitting on each point of the star, within the circle, as well as strategically placed around the room. Various sized skulls, bones, and teeth scattered the floor. Some of the bones still appeared to have dehydrated pieces of flesh and dried out chunks of meat still on them. Ricky vomited on the pentagram, which was probably not a good thing to do. But, he did manage to keep hold of all his beer, so that was a plus. Anyway, multiple ancient-looking chalices with what I can only assume was blood in them on the floor. There were a row of about 5 or 6 black robes with hoods, hanging on the left wall, as well as ritualistic-looking masks hanging above them, and a red robe with a hood and mask hanging on a wooden cross in front of some sort of altar. What the fuck? We don't mess with no black magic devil worship voodoo shit, man. Making a deal with the devil is one thing, but this shit is crazy. I don't give a fuck where we go next, but I'm getting the fuck up out of here, Derek said aggressively. Yeah, man. I heard rumors about this place. I never believed them until now. Fuck this. I'm out, dude, Corey said. We all nodded our heads in agreement. We all began looking around for a door. Although, it technically wasn't an actual door, the basement did have a way out. Those 2 metal doors with a few steps leading to them. You know what I mean, right? There's a way out. Let's get the fuck out of here, Derek said anxiously. We all ran to the doors, only to discover they were locked from the inside. Damn it. It's locked, Derek yelled. Tony, see if you can pull that lock off. The metal is old and rusty, it may be easier to do, I said to Tony, forgetting all about the keys in our pockets. Okay, he replied. We all cleared a path so Tony could get to the door. He reached one hand up, and grabbed the lock. He pulled on it. Nothing. He reached his other hand up, grabbed the lock with his other hand as well, and pulled harder. He did that a couple times, until finally the Haspin lock broke off, leaving a hole in the center of the metal doors. I got it, Mike, he said smiling. Derek pushed past him and swung the doors open. Now, I'd like to say that when the doors opened, we walked onto the property, out of that godforsaken house, got in the bus, and stayed there. But, no. It did not happen that way. When the doors opened, it was not the beautifully cut grass and finely maintained shrubbery that we saw. No, it was a bedroom. I assume the master bedroom. It had its own bathroom and everything. You don't need me to tell you what was in there, right? I mean, all bedrooms are basically the same. Anyway, we all walked in, turned around, and the metal doors were gone. We were just staring at the wall. No, 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 no. Derek yelled. We were so fucking close. Derek, stop. Let me think for a minute, I shot back. Okay, I said, thinking out loud, and pacing around the room. We entered the house through the greenhouse door. Bob gave us the keys at the front door and left. We opened the front door and walked into the atrium, so that's 2 rooms down. The greenhouse and the atrium. We entered the study, thought we were going back to the atrium, but went to the kitchen, 2 more rooms down, the study and the kitchen, from the kitchen to the basement, and from the basement to here, a bedroom. 2 more rooms down. I got it. I then turned to face the guys. It's process of elimination. We've been to 6 rooms, not repeating any room that we had been to before. I don't know how many rooms this fucking house has, but if my assessment is correct, eventually we will come to the last room, and that will lead outside. If the room doesn't have some type of door, we look for little buttons. If the room does have some type of door, we use it to go to the next room. The kitchen had all kinds of doors, cabinet doors, a refrigerator door, a freezer door. What about them? Steven asked. They weren't doors that wouldn't normally lead anywhere. The basement had metal doors that would have normally led outside. The kitchen had no leading doors, I replied. Then why didn't the greenhouse door, the front door, or the study door disappear? Corey asked. I don't know, man. I'm winging it here, I replied. Tony then became the voice of reason. Everybody calm down. I need a beer, Derek said. Me too, said Steven. Okay, let's take a break, and relax for a little while, I said. Everyone then sat down on the bed. Derek, Corey, Steven, and Ricky pulled a beer out of their shirts, opened it, and began drinking it. Tony and I just sat there looking at each other. When Ricky finished his beer, he said, Dude, I gotta take a piss. Don't take my beer, as he dumped all the beer from his shirt onto the bed. He got up, walked over to the bathroom door and opened it. Guys, check this out, he said excitedly. We all looked up to see Ricky doing the pee-pee dance in the doorway, and waving us over. Derek, Corey, and Steven finished their beers quickly, got up, dropped their beer on the bed as well, and ran over to Ricky, who was still dancing, as did Tony and I. We just stood there in the doorway, with smiles on our faces, even Tony. I didn't know why Tony was smiling, but I found out later. Anyway, we were staring at the one thing that could make all this insanity go away, our one and only escape from the shit show called life, if only for a little while. What we saw was our gear. Yeah, baby. Rock and roll, Derek said excitedly, and threw up the horns, as we all did the same once again. In the midst of celebration, we heard Ricky say softly, Uh-oh. What, man? Corey asked. Dude, you didn't. I said. Ricky just looked at me, shrugged his shoulders, and said, When you gotta go, you gotta go.